I am
Ooh.
freaking excited about this one. Today I'm talking to my good friend Rhia Clayton, and we are talking all the things on women's weight loss, as she is a women's weight loss specialist. So I first met Rhia on the most wondrous place of Instagram, as all the best friendships are made. And she's just one of those people we had messages, we had so much in common, always commenting on people, on each other's stuff, and it really kind of just developed from there. And then Rhea has actually just been out into the mountains to visit me, so we actually met face to face for the first time.
I stalked you.
Let you do your introduction, tell people who you are, what you're about, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, okay. Hello everyone. So my name is Rhia, and I have a program that I've been working very hard on called Eat Self Lean. But the whole background to that is my story really, and how I kind of got to the point of where I am now. So I'll give you a little backstory. Let's keep it nice and short and sweet. So I didn't really get into fitness and kind of looking at my nutrition until after I had my first son, Harry, who's just turned 9. When he was born, I would probably be open and honest and say I probably had a good case of the baby blues. And my husband would get home from work and I kind of wanted to kill him, to be fair. And I used to force myself to go to the gym because I was in quite a low place. So I was never really anyone that was into the gym. I didn't grow up in that world. But I just noticed that by forcing myself to go out and give myself that little bit of, 30 to 45 minutes when he got home in the evening, that I did feel a lot better for it. So, that kind of spurs you on to keep going. And then over, the months that developed after that, I just started to stumble across like these bikini fitness accounts on Instagram, and these girls that look really strong and lean, and I just got really drawn into that look, and I thought, oh, they look amazing, they look awesome. And then I kind of got this goal in my head that I was like, I don't want to die not knowing what my abs look like. It's such a really random, silly, I know it's a silly goal now, but I just had this bee in my bonnet. I was like, do you know what? I just want to give this a shot, and I want to see what I can do. So I signed up with a coach that helped me through that whole process. But unfortunately, in that process of dieting down for competitions, I really did mess up my relationship with food. And I started to suffer quite badly with binge eating. And that was something that I went through for probably about 2 or 3 years. And I just suffered with it alone. I didn't tell anyone. And during this time, I kind of retrained. I come out of what I was doing was working in construction in the city, and I decided I wanted to retrain as a personal trainer. So I just felt like this ultimate fraud. I was like, I'm working in the fitness industry, trying to give out, I had coaching clients myself at the time, but I was, still eating massive loads of food and then making myself sick. Like, I didn't have an eating disorder, but I definitely had a very bad relationship with food and my body, and the whole cycle would just continue week in, week out. Fortunately, by the grace of God, I just fell pregnant with my second child, Mason, in 2016. And for me, that was just like, look, you've got to sort yourself out now. You can't keep doing this whilst being pregnant. And I think that we all need to have our own trigger moment. And for me, that was very much it. And then I just went on a very long journey on my own, because I kept working with different coaches in the weight loss world that were just giving me cardio-based plans, or they were giving me more calorie-based plans and more cardio to do. So I was like, well, I can't keep doing it this way. I just have to figure it out myself. And then that was another journey in itself, which was like a couple of years. And then I've eventually got to the place that I'm at now, which hopefully we'll share some of that information with you later on.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting. It's great. Like, I've interviewed someone in the past who was a bikini model, and she was still very much in it at the time. But I think it's just so interesting because we see these amazing bodies, and I've never been there. I literally don't think I have it in me to do it, because it's so intense. And, people look at these people and it's something to aspire to be, yet the real underlying what goes on behind that is just it's just incredible the amount of
Yeah.
restriction. It becomes a full-time job in itself, yet women who have kids and lives and jobs to actually deal with, and that is really becoming something that's actually unattainable for a lot of people. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, and I think you'd be surprised that so many people that work in the fitness industry, particularly women, a lot of them have bad relationships with food themselves, but you'll never know about it. It's not until like I started speaking about it, and I would get so many people message me on my page who were like fitness trainers as well, and they'll be like, oh my god, I do this too. And so it's definitely, and it's not even just in that world, it is women in general have quite bad relationships with their body and with food and with what they think that they should be doing when it comes to being healthy. But I think the main thing that I always try to tell people is, look, it's okay. The diet industry has just profited off of your pain points. Like, that is literally how they are taught to market. So you just need to be wise enough to find someone that you can trust in that's going to give you, you know, much more relatable advice.
Yeah, I think this is, I mean, we're in January right now, and if you're watching this in the future, it's like prime time for like getting people. And you know, we all want to shed a few pounds in the new year, and I think that's absolutely fine. In fact, we'll touch on one of the comments that we got over on Instagram. We were advertising the fact that Rhea's come on and done my guest expert training for this month's Shine Squad members, and it was around how to create a filling fat loss diet, because that's the thing. I truly believe we can still want to improve and, you know, evolve our bodies without hating on ourselves. And I think that's what a lot of what the diet industry taps into, is those pain points and those moments that make you think, oh God, I'm a terrible person because I went and ate a cake or something, versus being able to allow yourself a sense of freedom around food and feeling as though you've actually got control of your eating habits, behaviors, rather than having, like, you know, these patterns of secret eating, or, you know, just eating things when people are, which is a huge one. And I've been there myself. I think we've all done it, and it is about shifting this relationship with food without it being all consuming, because, you know, when you're in the fitness industry, it kind of is all consuming. But for normal people, I think there needs to be a real change in the kind of values that go behind it.
Yeah, and I think another difficult thing that's cropping up now is to the other end of the extreme, is the intuitive eating movement is very big, and I kind of sit somewhere in the middle of the two. Like, there's elements of both I agree with, but I know, as someone that has really struggled with just having a really messed up relationship with food, that advice of just listen to your body, well, at the time I didn't know what my body was telling me, because my hormones were all out of whack, and I just didn't really understand anything when it comes to hunger, energy and cravings. So I couldn't just follow that approach either. So yeah, it can be hard. There's not enough people really talking about how to navigate it, what I would call in a real world setting, you know, when you've got children, when you've got a full-time job to hold down, or when you have a lot of other life stresses going on. And I think where me and you connect is we both agree that the mindset element is so important. Women have much more emotional connection to food than men have, so therefore we have to handle it differently, and a lot of it comes back down to mindset.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it is this huge, I mean, again, it is something that I think we've all experienced. I'll still be challenged by it. You know, there's moments like, if I feel stressed, or if there's a moment where I find myself like in comparison, it's like my initial go-to is to turn to food. And there's a space, like you say, this balance in between intuitive eating, because it does come down to listening to your body. But it's like, how do we listen to our bodies? What are the signals that we actually tune into? So what would you say is one of the key things that you help to guide women towards being able to listen to their bodies?
Yeah,
what does that mean to you?
Well, I think there's a few principles that I talk about in the program, and right from the outset, when we're looking at this building a filling fat loss diet, I'm talking to my clients about building a diet that's going to help them meet their hunger, their energy and their cravings, because I believe that if you kind of meet those three components within your day-to-day diet, that you're not going to either end up self-sabotaging because your energy is low. You're not going to end up, like I also say that women have a habit of eating too little followed by eating too much. So if you're managing your hunger by coming back to building out balanced meals in from the outset, then that's not going to happen. And if you're managing your cravings, you're not going to get to the weekend and bury your head in a tub of Ben and Jerry's. So I have my clients always eat a daily, not always, it doesn't matter if they might not be this person, but I always would allow them to say, like, have a daily craving killer. And I use craving killers as a terminology for something that is either a sweet or salty alternative to your favorite food, but maybe isn't a trigger food. So an example for me, I'd say a trigger food for me would be like Reese's peanut butter cups or Lindt chocolate bunnies. Like if I'm opening like a pack of Reese's peanut butter cups, I'm eating all three of them.
Absolutely.
A craving killer, I would say, is an alternative for me. It's 2 squares of dark chocolate and a little dipped in a little bit of peanut butter. So it's nice, it fills that void, but it doesn't leave me to then go on and eat too much and then think, oh, I've screwed it today. So that's one thing that we really talk about from the outset. But another thing to give them the principles to work with is we work using something called daily nutritional intentions. So I ask my clients to pick 3 things that they are committed to doing daily around their nutrition. Now, the idea is these things aren't meant to be big time consuming things, but they are, you know, put big ticks in the box, those things that we know that if we do them day to day, 12 months of the year, they are going to move the needle forward for us. So silly little things. It could be like making sure that you eat 3 square meals a day. It could be that you get your 3 litres of water in. It could be that you eat vegetables at least with lunch and dinner. And it depends on where you're at that moment. And they change for people as they go along. But what I say to my clients is, like, if you've met your 3 daily nutritional intentions, then that is one big, massive pat on the back for you. So you can start to celebrate the wins and not stress if you do slip up and do something that you feel that you wasn't meant to do, because you're like, no, it's okay, I've met my daily nutritional intentions. So that's how I think I try to bridge the gap a little bit between restrictive dieting and then the intuitive eating movement, is using principles like that have really helped me.
Yeah, I think that's it's having those, not a set saying you have to do this, this and this, but like clear guidelines, because again, coming back to the intuitive eating, it is that element of, you know, going into a place of self-love and, you know, just wanting to be kind to yourself. Well, sometimes you do just want to be like, okay, well, if I love myself, I would just allow myself to have this. And it is having, I suppose, boundaries that allow you to still get the results, but without coming from a place of like really hard restriction and hard going. Because that's the thing, you know, we've got to face the facts that 95% of people who go on a diet generally do fail or rebound. And that is the element that, you know, I think a lot of women tend to struggle with, is going from a place of it's a balance between, you know, having an element where you have to stay within to get the result versus being so not so restrictive and hard on yourself around it.
Yeah, so I try to tell my clients a lot that the all or nothing approach always results in nothing. So it will eventually result in nothing. So if you're having that, right, I'm on it, I'm going to do, you know, I'm not, we'll probably get into this later, but I'm doing veganuary, or I'm, you know, whatever thing that people are going to, they're just so fixated on doing it perfectly for a month. I think that's when you are setting yourself up for failure right from the outset.
Yes.
So I like to talk about fitness and health as a dial. So this is a little mindset shift that I use with my clients, and treat it like a dial. So you can turn it up or down depending on what season of your life you're in, but you never turn it off altogether. So personally, I would say that I follow probably like a 70-30 split. So I'm not quite 80-20. I'm definitely not that, you know, that good. If I'm trying to be good, I'll turn it up to 80-20. If I'm on holiday, I'd probably turn it down to 60-40. So it's always depending on what's going on in my life and what goals I might have. Sometimes I'm a little bit better, sometimes I'm a little bit more relaxed, but I always have those daily nutritional intentions, those things that are just part of my normal habits and routines that are going to get done regardless of whether I'm on holiday or not.
Yeah, I think that's super important. And coming back to, you know, the hunger, energy and cravings system, is that of what I've heard some people talking about more recently is having hunger, energy, cravings and sanity. Because, you know,
Oh, yeah.
if you're on holiday and you're having kind of like this battle with yourself around it, it's allowing yourself to say, look, this is not my, you know, week on week. The dog is starting to make some serious noise in there. I hope you can't
Mine are
hear it
inside,
too
but they would
bad.
do the same.
But really having this idea of flexibility, and that, you know, there's the whole element of, there's a lot of flexible dieting which is really popular, and it is, because we can't be all or nothing, because that's not how we live our lives. You know, I always
Yeah.
talk a lot on balance, and it's always ebbs and flows, and it's allowing that fluidity and really tuning into what your energy's feeling in the moment. It's like, well, if actually, is this going to save my sanity if I just have a little bit of chocolate with this? Then freaking go for it, because it's just going to allow you to say, okay, next step, coming back into it in the moment, rather than like then it leading into all this negative eating patterns over the weekend and starting again on Monday, which is just such a common cycle that so many people get stuck in.
One thing I would say, like, if anyone is listening to, because I just know from personal experience, like I would have listened to a conversation like this in the past and gone, probably thought to myself, well, I just can't stop. And I think sometimes you need to know it takes time, like it does, like changing habits, especially disordered eating habits, takes time, and you've just got to pre-prepared to keep giving yourself a pat on the back and drawing a line under the sand and going again. Like, you've just got to keep showing up and keep trying, and eventually, like, your mindset will start to shift more. You'll probably, a lot of the time our hormones are so out of whack when we're like going through periods of restrictive dieting or eating not enough followed by too little. So all these things physiologically play into maybe why we might make certain choices. So just know that it does take time, like depending on the scale of where your relationship with food is. But I just want to kind of mention that in case anyone was thinking, oh, it's right for you, but I get it, like, so.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this is, you know, we are coaches ourselves, and it's all right to say for us, you know, this is why I feel it's important that people get support, because you just touched on like hormonal elements. It's, you know, the training and the nutrition that are around your cycle, your menstrual cycle as a woman, has a huge impact on your ability to stay online with the diet. And that's again when you get to be able to shift that dial, because rather than beating yourself up about it, having the knowledge and someone behind you to say, you know, that's okay, that's your body's natural response, you know, listen to that.
I think when you know that there's generally a bigger reason, like there's actually important things going on in here, you start to it takes the pressure off yourself a little bit. And then when you take the pressure off, you tend not to self-sabotage to such a degree, or if at all.
And I think that's, no, sorry, I was going to say it, and you talk about this being a journey, and it's huge. You know, I've been in the health and fitness industry for, gosh, it must be coming on for 17 years or so now, and it's still stuff that I'm constantly learning and wanting to work on and to evolve. You know, there's no kind of perfect standard. I think it's just an evolution of yourself and your own mindset, and again, going back to those habits and behaviors, because it is the little things that make the big impact.
I think that's another thing, is it's what suits you. Like, so I probably want to touch on this now, talking about, you know, veganuary or meat free, or people maybe going and doing Slimming World or calorie counting plans. Like, all of these things work. Like, there's nothing that, you know, they're all going to get you eating better. But what it always comes back down to is, what do you like to do? Like, what makes you feel good? Because you can be a mixture of all 5 different things, and it doesn't matter. I'm not really one to ever fall into any one camp with arguments. I don't like people pushing strong opinions, because I think that we can take elements from each thing and then just learn what works for us.
Yeah, absolutely. That's so important, especially for people who maybe are just following diets blindly. About, you know, because I'm always into very much journaling and coming back to checking in with yourself, because like you say, the whole vegan movement, and I think it's great in terms of the people who go vegan, they eat a lot more fruit and vegetables, and that can
Yeah,
only be a good thing. But checking in with your own energy levels, because what works for what, we are made up completely differently. Every single human being has different genetics, different elements. We can survive well or not so well on different diets. So it's important that you are checking in with what feels relevant for you and good for you.
Totally, because you'll have, like, I'll have some clients that function really well off of having like a high carbohydrate diet, and then others that function better off being on a lower carb but higher fat diet. So it, you know, we're all so different, so don't ever try, I think we fall into the pressure a lot of the time, especially if we work in an office environment, about what so and so in the office is doing, and oh, it's working so well for them, or what your friends are doing and they've lost 5 pounds. And it comes back down to what's working for you, what makes you feel good, because you're not Susan, you're not Tracy, like, you're you. So that's what you've just got to keep coming back to asking yourself.
And so, talking about different types of diet, because there are like a bazillion out there, whether you're doing keto, intermittent fasting, veganuary, whatever it is, do you pull elements then of different diets? How do you really structure that into what it is that you, or how you teach people with their nutrition?
I think the only thing that I would pull from any one diet, I don't really think I fit any category, to be honest. But there is one thing that I would always try to get my clients to do, and that's eat a source of protein with every single meal, because I know that it helps them feel fuller for longer, and I know that if they're doing resistance training, it's going to help them build a bit more muscle tissue, which is going to help them become a bit leaner, which is generally what they want. So I don't really, and obviously, you know, like fruits and vegetables, we should all be eating more of them. Like, it's the basics, isn't it? Like, I say, general guidelines I'm giving my clients from the outset when they don't really know what to do is, I'm like, look, aim for this as a starting point, and then we tweak it. It's like source of protein with every meal, fruits and vegetables at least 2 of your meals, 3 litres of water, like, and then carbohydrates based around activity levels, and then a source of fat at least 2 or 3 out of your meals a day. Like, we use the hand as a portion control, or cups, measuring cups, rather than weighing things, because we just find that it's a little bit easier and less time consuming. And that's really the only, like, and I just think that's basic nutrition principles.
And
but it's not sexy.
No, and this is the thing, it's not, you know, people like to overcomplicate it, and it kind of justifies why it's so hard for people. You know, they think it's this huge complicated thing, but I think a lot of people need to bring it back to the basics. And that's why I love watch, like, if you're not already following Rhia, and I'll post all of her links to her website and her social channels, definitely go and follow her on Instagram, because she just gives so many tips, so much value, so many amazing recipes. Her food pictures are awesome. She's just got so much value to give just in free resources. So could you just, as we're going to start to just wrap it up a little bit, give an outline of what it is that exactly that you're doing on your Eat Yourself Lean program? Do you have, it's obviously the nutrition, because that's what we've touched on. Is it workouts? How does it work? Is it online? Is it face to face?
No, so it's all online. So it's an 8-week online program. Essentially, I want to help anyone that goes through the program strike the balance between life and fat loss, so that they never feel they have to diet again. So a lot of it is based around probably the mindset behind nutrition and the basics guidelines to follow. So there is a structured system that we go through. So week by week, there's new training modules that we follow with action steps and coaching calls. And there is an 8-week training plan called Train Yourself Lean, which goes along with it. It's home and gym based, but it's kind of optional, because my belief is you just need to move in whatever way makes you feel good. I personally like strength training, but it's not down for everyone. And really, more than anything, is coming back to the mindset side of it, planning, productivity, and habits. So we have 3 guides. We have Eat Yourself Lean, Train Yourself Lean, and Plan Yourself Lean. So we're looking at it from the nutrition, the training, and the mindset, to try to look at all of those 3 things.
Amazing. And this is why I love it. We have very, very similar like values and beliefs around it. So if anybody wanted to, do you have any free resources or anything that people can
Yeah,
access?
so I do actually have an Eat Yourself Lean free ebook, which is kind of the 7 principles that underpin, you know, what we do within Eat Yourself Lean. And then within those, there's some free principle tools, like there's the daily tracker, there's the planner, there's the grocery guide. There's a few different things that you can download and print within that ebook as well. So that's actually on. I can give you the link to that, but it's within my Instagram profile as well.
Amazing. Thank you so much. And I really hope that you guys that are watching, if you've felt any confusion, because, you know, we've touched on a lot of points, but if you want to contact Rhea direct, ask the questions, then please go and do that. But I'll put all of her links in below the video so that you can get access to her. And I think the big message is like, simplify it, bring it back down to the basics. Think about some of the ideas and concepts that we talked about, and always consider your mindset, because being able to stick to anything is only ever going to be as good as your mindset. Do you have any final thoughts or comments that you want to share, or is there anything that you want to add that I didn't ask you about?
I think there was, I think we touched a little bit earlier on. This is just quickly, like if you asked me what I saw as what people struggled with most in women, it is generally what trips them up most is having a lack of boundaries and people pleasing and wanting to do everything for everyone else and always putting themselves at the bottom of the list. So that is generally what I see a huge amount of women that come to me right from the outset. And there's just one little term that I tend to say to them, which helps them start to know that it's okay to look after themselves, and that is beneficially selfish. So I'm like, I'm not telling you to wipe everyone out, but it's okay to be a little bit selfish and put yourself first, because it's going to benefit those around you. And they're like, oh, okay. And I think that, you know, maybe that means that you have to get up earlier before the rest of your family are up, or maybe it means that you don't watch TV in the evenings and you make a little bit of time to have a bath or do a meditation or something. It doesn't need to be these huge chunks of time, but you do need to put yourself first to a degree if you want to be a better mum, a better wife, if you want to be calmer and happier person to be around.
Yeah, absolutely. Completely agree with you. If I didn't prioritize myself, I would be pretty grumpy and awful to be around. And I do, like you say, it benefits everyone else. I love that saying. Yeah, nice. Good reminder.
That was it.
So I tell you, it's been amazing to talk to you, and I think we will probably very likely do these again very soon. So if you have any questions, put them in the comments box or contact Rhea directly, and we shall look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you so much for hanging around and watching along with us.
Thanks for having me on, Emma. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Bye.